Hey, good morning, guys. Today we're going to learn how to build our first FX chain. Now, FX with audio simply stands for adding an effect. Anything that changes that audio file, enhances it, takes something away from it, that is referred to as an FX. And we're going to build a chain that we're going to use for podcasting that I recommend that you look at and download. And one's going to be the vocal EQ cheat sheet from the Ultimate Vocal Formula. More importantly, you'll be able to download this EQ cheat sheet. And it looks just like this. And this is on my desktop right now. And this is what we're going to build as far as our EQ goes. And it'll tell you what these frequencies are and why you either want to enhance them or reduce them. If you're going to enhance them, you're going to go above 0 dBs. If you're going to reduce them, then you're going to go below 0 dBs. Now, the second sheet we want to look at is located at blog.landr.com. blog.landr.com. This one is actually made for framing. So let's go ahead and go on over to Reaper. So here we are in Reaper. And if you remember the last video that we did, we talked about coming up here and saving a project template. So let's go back to our project templates, and we're going to open up my podcast. Now, if you remember when we did this, we had our input meter, which is pre-FX, and we have the record already engaged. And we're going to come up here with the options, again, just as a refresher. You're going to click on Preferences, Wave Out, and today I'll be using the ATR USB microphone, which is the ATR 2100. And we're simply going to click OK. Now, another thing I want to show you at this time is if we come up to project's settings, and we can use the Alt-Enter key for the shortcut, we want to go ahead and set this up, and we're going to come over to where it says Media. And as you can see, it comes out to my desktop, to my folder, Reaper Projects. And I simply made a folder, named it Reaper Projects, and then I went and found it. Now, we're going to be recording in a WAV format, 24-bit. We're going to make sure we have this box checked. And then where it says do not include markers or regions, we're going to come down and say markers only. And then we're going to save as the default project setting. We're going to be at 128 kbps, which is the MP3. And we're going to change this later on. We can change it right now if we want to. I'm going to start going with 96. It's a much smaller file. We're going to be at a constant bit rate. And we're going to leave this normal, just like it recommends. And we're going to click OK. And then we're going to click Save as Default Project Settings. Now we're going to come up here and we're going to pop this meter out. And if you remember, that's what that pin's for. As you can see, it puts it right back where I want it. So we're going to be silent for a second. We're going to see what our background noise is. And then we're going to set our input level. So right now I'm running about a negative 45 dBs. Okay, that is my background noise. And like we said before, we're going to check these numbers. And that way we'll know how to apply our gate. Because our FX chain is going to be quite simple. It's going to consist of an EQ, a gate, and a peak limiter that's going to go on the master track. So if you recall, we're going to come over to our speaker icon, click on Recording Devices. We're going to look for the ATR. It says it's ready. We're going to make it the default. And we're going to start sliding this to the right until we get our level in between a -6 and a -12. So we're simply going to do a count. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. We're going to recheck our meter, and there we are. We're now within that range. So now we know we're talking in a normal voice. and our level is now where we want it for our microphone. So we're simply going to come up and hit record. Now, as I lay this track down, I can see the waveform, but it truly does not matter. All I want to do is get a piece of audio in there. Now, I can do this at the beginning or I can do this at the end, however you choose to do it, but we need to leave a 2-second pause where there is no voice coming through whatsoever. And this is going to help us again as we get ready to see what our levels are when we get ready to finish this audio. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording. And we're going to save all. Now we don't need this meter anymore. And we're going to go up here and we're going to take this off. Now we're going to come up here. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to come to extensions, loudness. We're going to analyze the selected track. And then we're going to bring it to the proper level. Right now it came in at a negative 25.3 LUFS with a negative 8.5. We're going to highlight it, right mouse click, normalize to a negative 17.5. Now remember, our target goal is in between a negative 6 and a negative 12. Now, when I did that, and this is where people get confused, and it's truly not that confusing. If I'm at a negative 24 and I want to come to a negative 17.5, then I'm going to raise this over here. As you can see, it was raised 7.77 dBs. And that's how it gets to that proper LUF. Okay, it's real simple. Now, the true peak is a negative 0.7, so I'm well within that range. At this time, I'm going to come up and simply render this file. Now, if you remember when we talked about we can change it later, see, you can always change it here. This allows you to do the same thing. But we do want to make sure that we check this box because we want to add this track back into Reaper. So we're simply going to call this Untitled 1. And then we're going to render. And there's our waveform. And now we're going to close. And now it put it right back here on stereo. At this time, we do not need this track any longer, so we're going to remove it. And now we're going to work with this one track. Okay, so we've got our track normalized. Now, the first thing we want to do is come over to the master track, or master bus, however you want to say it. And we're going to come up to JS, and we're going to come all the way over to the right. And we're going to grab our VU meter summed. And what this does now, any tracks, if you have 4 tracks, if you have 100 tracks up here, they're all going to run through this master track when you get ready to render your file. So at this time, let's go ahead and listen to it. And we're going to hear some breaths, some breathing, some noise floor. And I tell you guys, if you have a set of headphones, you need to have them on because you need to mix and master your audio with them unless you have a studio quality set of monitors and bass traps hanging from the ceiling and corner traps stuck in the corner, to keep these frequencies, these unwanted frequencies out. And this will allow you to hear your audio the way it truly should be heard. And you can do away with all that simply by setting or putting on a set of headphones. So let's go ahead and listen. Now, as I lay this track down, I can see the waveform, but it truly does not matter. All I want to do is get a piece of audio in there. Now, I can do this at the beginning or I can do this at the end, however you choose to do it. But we need to leave a 2-second pause where there is no voice coming through whatsoever. And this is going to help us again as we get ready to see what our... Okay, so as you can see right up here in this area, and guys, I say 2 seconds. It's the way I was taught, but you'll get the hang of this. What you need is a piece where you can come in here and trap this audio. If you remember what we talked about before now, we've got a little window. We're going to come up and hit the toggle repeat. And we want to see now what that noise is. So let's go ahead and play it, and let's watch. We're going to hit the space bar. It's coming out at a negative 31.4. So we have this information now. We're going to untoggle this track. We don't need this anymore. And this is going to be the number we set our gate at. So we're probably going to end up setting our gate somewhere probably around a negative 28, negative 29. So we're going to come over now to our track. We're just simply going to click it. Now this time we're going to come down to caucus, and we're going to come up here and we're going to grab our gate. That's the first thing we're going to put in. So since we know what our number is here, we can come over here, left mouse click, and we're simply going to put in negative 28. And we're going to see what that sounds like. So now let's go ahead and play the file, and let's see if all the breaths and everything else have been taken out the way they should have been. And back to the beginning, and spacebar. Now, as I lay this track down, I can see the waveform, but it truly does not matter. All I want to do is get a piece of audio in there. Now, I can do this at the beginning, or I can do this at the end. However you choose to do it, but we need to leave a 2-second pause. Okay? So as you can clearly hear, it's gone. So let's go ahead and trap this again. And we're going to come up and toggle. And now let's watch our meter to see what our input level is. And you see, guys, it's infinity. And that's how you double check your audio. Now, as we do these FX, apply these chains, they must be in the proper order. In other words, we do not want to EQ it and then come back and put a gate on it. We just don't want to do that. They have to be in the proper order. So at this time now, we're going to come up and we're going to grab our EQ. And I know he's up here somewhere, and there he is right there. Now, we talked before. If you remember at the beginning of the video, remember the graph we looked at, the EQ chart? Well, that's basically what that represents. Now, everyone will tell you it is strictly a starting point. That's it. You have to sit here and tweak these to your own way of what you want to hear. And the best example I can give you is simply this. If you've ever heard someone say, or maybe you've done it yourself, you've listened to your voice come back and they go, wow, do I really sound like that? And that's because we hear ourselves different than the way people perceive our voice. So it's very hard for you to sit there and EQ your own voice. And that's why it's nice to have a guideline. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come up here and untoggle this. And I'm going to come down and just get a stock 4-band, because 9 times out of 10, this is what I do. I will come to channel number 1, and I'm going to put in this high pass. I'm going to come over to the mid-range, somewhere around 300, 350, and I'm going to just reduce this down, maybe 1 or 2 dBs at the most. Same way over here at this, around the 1000 to 1500 hertz. And I'm going to do the same thing. Now, I'm going to watch the audio to see where it drops off on this EQ. Now, remember, on number 1, we put a high pass. On number 4, I'm going to put a low pass. So let's go back and let's just watch this audio. Now, as I lay this track down, I can see the waveform, but it truly does not matter. All I want to do is get a piece of audio in there. And now I'm going to watch this again as I play it, and then I'm going to manipulate this last band, and that's going to be it. Now, as I lay this track down, I can see the waveform, but it truly does not matter. All I want to do is get a piece of audio in there. Now, I can do this at the beginning, or I can do this at the end. However you choose to do it, but we need to leave a 2-second pause. Okay? And that's it, guys. So the 2 things we want to use is the gate and the EQ. Now, we don't want to set these up every single time. We want to be able to go up there and get them quickly. So we're going to come back to the FX. We're going to click on it, and right up here at the top, we're going to click this, and we're going to say Save FX Chain. Now, you can see that I have mine up here already. I set mine up for different microphones that I use. So we're going to hit Save. We've got it named Test 2, and now we're going to save it. Okay? So what does that mean for us now? Now, if we want to start our project, we're going to go ahead and just hit Start New Project. And we're not going to save the old one. But there we are. So the first thing we come up and do is we say, okay, Project Templates, My Podcast, and there we are. So we're already set up again to start recording. So what do? Now that we have this, we can come up to our FX. We can come up to our FX again, and we're going to add FX Chain. There's our chain right there. We click this down. So now everything's loaded. Everything's just exactly the way we want it to be. And then as we start to do our recording, it just increases your time spent mixing and mastering your audio. And it's really just that simple. Okay? I hope this has helped. Stay safe. God bless. And if you have any questions, admin@yourpodcastreview.com. Come up there and check us out. We got a free podcast course going. You're going to absolutely love it. We do all of this in real time. We take questions, we answer questions, we're talking back and forth. It's like just a great big social gathering. All right? We are out of here.